The Last Cry on Orion Outpost. The stars over Orion Outpost 17 glittered like silent spectators. Built on the edge of the Perseus Veil, the outpost stood as one of humanity's furthest scientific stations, fragile and defiant. It was a place for the brilliant, the bold, and sometimes the foolish. Lia Quinn was 7 and already knew she didn't belong on this cold, metal-clad rock. The air always smelled like steel and scrubbed plastic. Her parents told her it was an exciting place to grow up. She disagreed. Tonight, she stood near the viewport of her family's quarters, watching a pale blue nebula stretch across the dark like a ribbon dipped in fire. Her stuffed rabbit, Mr. Nibbles, dangled from one arm. Behind her, voices murmured, her parents arguing again. Helena Quinn, xenobiologist and research lead. Marcus Quinn, ex-Marine and current head of outpost security. They were fighting over a signal, some anomaly picked up by the deep space arrays. "It's not natural," her father said. "Nothing moves like that through folded space." Her mother snapped back. "So you want to call in a military strike over a pattern of radiation spikes? That's not protocol, Marcus." Lia tuned them out. Grown-ups always talked in circles. What mattered were the stars. They never argued. They just shined. Then the lights flickered. The hum beneath her feet, the ever-present drone of the station's systems, hiccuped, then surged. A high-pitched tone buzzed in the walls, rising like a scream behind steel. Her mother burst from the lab door. "Marcus!" But the world was already changing. The lights went out. In the blackness, only the stars remained. A violent shudder threw Lia off her feet. Red emergency lights flared, bathing the room in blood-colored shadows. Sirens followed, sharp, warbling screams Lia had only ever heard during drills. Breach. Dexy. Unknown vessel inbound. Her father was already in motion, slapping on a half-sealed combat vest and grabbing his plasma sidearm. "Helena, get Lia to Shelter 3. "No." Helena grabbed Lia and hoisted her up. "We're staying together." But it was too late. A sound, like tearing silk crossed with thunder, ripped through the air. A wall of swirling, multicolored light exploded in the center of the room. Lia screamed as she felt herself lifted from the floor. Hands that weren't hands reached through the air. Claws. Tendrils? They shimmered like heat and smoke. Her mother lunged. "Lia!" and missed. In the blink of a heartbeat, Lia vanished into light. When she awoke, it was cold. Not freezing, but ancient. The kind of cold that pressed against your bones, not your skin. She lay in a circular chamber with high vaulted walls made of a living, breathing material that shimmered dark violet under the bioluminescent light. The floor beneath her pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Above her, they waited. 7 beings, arranged in a crescent. Towering, coiled forms like dragons out of fantasy, but far more alien. 6-limbed, plated in deep obsidian armor that flowed like metal and muscle. Wings folded tight against their backs. Horned heads bent low. Each had eyes that burned like stars and mouths that didn't move when they spoke. And they were speaking, not in sound but in thought. It is small, fleshborn, unfit, yet untouched. It carries echoes. Lia couldn't move, not from fear, but from something deeper, an instinctive paralysis, like her soul recognized what stood before her. Her body trembled, her fingers clutching Mr. Nibbles tighter. The largest one moved closer. Its eye, there was only one, was a swirling galaxy locked in a vertical slit. It lowered its head to her level. She smelled heat, ozone, burning air, and ancient stones. Something passed between them. A flicker, a memory, not hers. She was standing on a world of flame, not Earth. She had wings. She spoke without speaking. She commanded fire and shadow. And then it was gone. The creature reared back, its armored plates shifting in alarm. It made a sharp clicking sound, echoed by the others. They had not expected that. A smaller one stepped forward, sleeker, faster-looking. It hissed. "This is impossible. The Flesh-worlders are not aligned. They do not remember." Lia blinked. Her throat hurt, but something rose in her. A word. It wasn't English. It wasn't anything she'd learned. But she knew it. As Korrhith. The entire chamber froze. The air shimmered. One of the dragons let out a rattling hiss. The name was sacred, forgotten even among the Korrhith themselves. One of them, the eldest, leaned down and whispered telepathically into the minds of the others. She speaks the forgotten flame. Lia stood up, small, barefoot, hair wild. She didn't know what was happening, but deep in her chest, something ancient stirred. Outside the chamber, the living walls of the ship began to pulse. Something strange had happened, something that would shake the stars. The memory that wasn't hers. Lia sat alone beneath the shifting glow of the chamber ceiling. She didn't cry. Not yet. The moment for fear had passed, and something inside her refused to let tears fall. A quiet hum resonated through the floor beneath her, like the purr of a sleeping titan. The dragons hadn't spoken, not in words, not even in thoughts, for what felt like hours. They had left her alone, the great arched doors of the chamber closing without touch or sound. But the silence wasn't empty. Every now and then, she'd feel a flicker, a tug at the edge of her mind, like something testing her thoughts, not to harm but to study. Her dreams were no longer her own. Images filled her when she closed her eyes. Burning skies, winged shapes circling distant suns, languages she'd never heard but understood. She curled tighter around Mr. Nibbles, whose synthetic fur was beginning to smell faintly of ozone and alien air. Her eyes tracked the spiraling glyphs glowing across the walls. The ship, if it could be called that, was alive. Not mechanical, not built. It grew, and it was reacting to her. She could feel it. Beyond the sealed walls, within the great spiral of the world ship's core, a council was gathering. 12 Korrhith, each ancient, each with memories that reached back millennia, stood in a circle of telepathic silence. In their center, Viatherix, elder prime of the Korrhith Flameborn, watched the glow of the viewing crystal with narrowed eyes. Inside, the little human girl sat cross-legged, tracing patterns into the floor with her finger. The ship's roots responded, curling in elegant spirals. The echo is active, Viatherix said aloud, though they all shared the thought. This child carries the imprint, the song of Escaroth. The council stirred. A coincidence, hissed Isker, second in command. His tail lashed once in agitation. The humans have never touched the source. She is an anomaly, nothing more. And yet the ship responds, Viatherix countered, gesturing toward the living metal. And our thoughts echo in her dreams. There was silence. Then a new voice entered the circle, sharper, colder. We should end her. Zirith stepped into the light, armor gleaming like obsidian under fire. He was war-born, bred for flame and destruction, with little patience for mysticism. We are dragons of the void, not caretakers of prophecy. She's a risk, a wild echo. End her before the memory spreads. Viatherix turned to him slowly. You fear what she might awaken. Zirith bared his teeth. I fear letting one voice speak for a species that once betrayed us. Back in the chamber, Lia stood. Something inside her called. A low vibration in her chest, like a memory made solid. She walked to the wall and pressed her hand to the spiraling glyphs. They flared beneath her palm. Suddenly, her mind was no longer her own. She stood in the heart of a dying star. Not metaphorically, literally. Around her, energy swirled in loops of plasma and light. She wore no suit. She didn't need one. She had wings, broad and flame-covered, each beat of them pushing solar wind aside. She was Korrhith and more, flesh and light and memory. Before her stood a younger Viatherix, unscarred and golden-scaled, speaking in tones that bent the solar core into shapes. Behind her, humans, ancient ones, tall and armored in strange suits that shimmered like water. The humans and the Korrhith stood side by side. Not enemies, allies. A great threat loomed above, massive and dark, blotting out the stars. A devourer, a creature without name, a hunger older than time. And they had stood together to fight it. The memory cracked like glass. Lia fell to her knees, gasping. A voice boomed in her skull, not her own. The child awakens. The chamber doors open with a sigh. Therex stepped through alone, his wings folded, his eyes cautious, almost gentle. He knelt before her, enormous head bowed low. "Child," he said aloud, his real voice, deep as tectonic plates shifting. "What do you remember?" Lia looked up, tears streaking her cheeks. You fought with us. Long ago, the stars were falling, and we stopped it. Together." Therex closed his eyes. He had feared this. The echo was true. Humans, long thought primitive, disconnected, were not strangers to the flame. They were descendants. Her blood carried imprints of ancient alliance. Somehow, through thousands of years and the chaos of forgotten wars, it had survived, awaiting rebirth in a vessel too young to understand her own power. "You should not remember," he said. "But I do," Lia replied. She hesitated. "I don't want to be special. I just want to go home." Therex rose slowly. "You may yet. But first, the council must decide. Some will not accept this truth. Because I'm human?" "No," he said, voice grim. "Because you make them remember what they've worked so hard to forget." In the dark corners of the world ship, Korrhith sharpened his claws against stone. His allies gathered in silence. The girl had passed the first test. He would ensure she didn't survive the second. Fire in her veins. The arena was unlike anything Lia had ever seen. A vast circular chamber carved from volcanic glass and obsidian bone. The Korrhith trial arena shimmered with dormant energy. Jagged pillars loomed like teeth around its edge. In the center, a stone platform pulsed with a dim red light. Warm, not from heat, but from something alive. Lia stood alone upon it, barefoot and shivering. Above, in a crescent of hovering platforms, the 12 Korrhith elders watched in solemn silence. Their wings folded tight, their eyes glowing like stars through fog. At the center was Therex, his gaze heavy with sorrow. And to his left, Korrhith, coiled like a spring, radiating hunger. This wasn't just a ritual. It was a judgment. Therex's voice boomed across the arena. By ancient flame and blood memory, the echo must be tested. Lia blinked against the brightness of the walls, which had begun to shift, glowing runes moving like rivers of light. The trial of flame is sacred. If she is false, she will burn. And if she survives... Korrith's voice was a snarl, tail lashing behind him. "Then we bow," Therex replied, "as we once did long ago." Lia didn't understand everything, but she understood one thing clearly. They didn't believe she belonged, and some of them didn't want her to live long enough to prove otherwise. The first wave hit her without warning. A pulse of thought, not hers, crashed into her skull like a thunderclap. The world blurred, twisted. She fell to her knees, clutching her head. Memories poured into her. Not dreams. History. She saw Korrhiths in orbit around shattered moon. Wings flared in defiance as a black swarm devoured their allies. She saw humans fighting beside them, wearing ancient exosuits powered by fire and thought. They had bled together, died together, then betrayal. A great sundering, a forgotten wound across time. Lia screamed, the pressure in her head growing unbearable. In the Elder Ring, Korrith sneered. "She cannot withstand the flame. Her mind is soft." But then something strange happened. The arena responded. The runes beneath her feet glowed brighter, reacting, not rejecting. And Lia stood, her eyes open wide, glowing, not just reflecting light, but producing it. Her skin shimmered faintly, barely visible glyphs crawling across her arms and neck. Her hair rose with unseen static. The Korrith stared in stunned silence. The girl was resonating with the trial chamber. Therex whispered to no one in particular. "She's not resisting the flame. She's remembering it." Lia's body moved slowly, arms extended. She didn't know what she was doing, but something inside her did. A word came to her, low and thunderous, ancient and beautiful. Thurakai. The platform beneath her exploded in fire. Real fire, blue-white, rising in a pillar that should have incinerated her. Instead, it danced around her like a lover reunited. Her body absorbed it. She became part of it. She was fire, thought, flameglyph, and memory. The Korrhith watched in stunned silence. Then Xerath moved, a blur of black metal and hate. He leapt from the platform, screaming through the telepathic link. She is a lie. I will end her myself. He dove like a meteor, wings spread wide, claws extended. Lia didn't run. She didn't even flinch. Instead, she opened her mouth and spoke a name, not as given one, but a name older than language. A true name, Skathrall. Xerath stopped midair, convulsed, crashed to the floor in a heap of heaving breath and shattered pride. He tried to rise, but his limbs trembled and the glyphs on the chamber walls flared in warning. The entire arena pulsed once, like a giant heartbeat. Lia's voice was calm now. Older. You were brave once, she said, before fear turned you cruel. Xerath looked up and for the first time in 1,000 years saw himself, not as a warrior, but as a memory, a creature hiding from pain. The arena went silent. Above, the elders stirred. The trial is complete, Vaethryx said softly. The flame accepts her. He turned to the others. Who challenges her place now? No one spoke. Even Xerath, trembling and silent, did not rise. Later, in a quiet chamber of polished crystal and soft breath-like winds, Lia sat curled beneath a glowing canopy. Her body felt light, hollowed out, like something ancient had passed through her and left its mark. Vaethryx approached, carrying no armor, no blade. Do you understand now what you are? He asked gently. Lia shook her head. I don't want to be anything. I just want to go home. He nodded. And you shall. But know this, our histories are not separate. You are not just human. You are the proof that we were never alone. Lia looked up at him. Will the others listen? They will have to, he said. You spoke the name of a warlord and stopped his breath. No Korrhith alive can ignore that. She looked at her hands. Then what happens next? Vaethryx's eyes gleamed. We prepare for what your return will awaken among your kind and ours. Far away, in deep human space, a small corvette carrying Dr. Lia Quinn raced toward the last known signal of her daughter. She wasn't going to let anyone, human or alien, stand between her and her child. The flame between worlds. Dr. Lia Quinn's fists tightened around the controls of the stolen corvette. The edges of her vision blurred with exhaustion and fury, but her trajectory was locked, straight toward the massive, impossible silhouette of the Korrhith world ship. It hovered in space like a celestial leviathan, coiled in layers of living metal and glowing runes. Organic hulls pulsed as if breathing, radiating gravitational fields strong enough to warp nearby debris. The ship was legend, myth made metal. But none of it mattered, because her daughter was in there, and Lia Quinn would walk through fire itself to get her back. Inside the world ship's heart chamber, Lia stood beneath a rising helix of flame and crystal. The Korrhith gathered in a ring around her, not as judges now, but as witnesses. She comes, Lia whispered. Vaethryx stepped forward. The one who gave you life. My mother, Lia said, her voice low. And she's scared. You have to let me speak to her. The Korrhith shifted uneasily. Contact with humanity was forbidden. Vaethryx tilted his great head. Will she understand what you are now? I don't know, Lia admitted. But she'll listen. She has to. The world ship's defense array began to shift. Energy lances curled like spines along its perimeter. Inside the corvette, Helena locked missiles, prepared evasive maneuvers, and gritted her teeth. Don't make me destroy something you can't rebuild, she growled to no one. Give me my daughter. Then the world ship spoke. No signal, no broadcast, just presence. A pulse of thought pressed directly into her mind. Come, alone. The ship opened. The docking bay was nothing like any human port. No gravity, no airlocks, just open space, and yet she breathed. Helena stepped out slowly, her weapon drawn, her mind screaming with disbelief. And then she saw her. Lia stood at the far end of a rising platform, surrounded by creatures that shouldn't exist, massive, scaled titans with eyes like dying stars. And in their center, her daughter glowed faintly, symbols floating across her skin like fireflies. Helena raised her pistol instinctively. Get away from her. Lia held up a hand. Mom, it's okay. No, Helena said, taking a step forward, heart pounding. It's not. They took you. Va Therix stepped forward. Helena's finger twitched over the trigger. I am Therix, the elder said, leader of the Flameborn. We did not steal her. We answered her call. Helena's voice trembled. She's 7. She didn't call anyone. She did, Va Therix replied. Not with voice, but with blood. With memory. With flame. Helena looked at Lia again, truly looked. Her daughter wasn't trembling or hurt. She was calm. Still. Powerful. What have they done to you? She whispered. Lia stepped forward and took her mother's hand. They didn't do anything. I remembered something I never knew I had. Something we all have. It's inside us, Mom. Helena shook her head, overwhelmed. You're just a child. I spoke his name. Lia interrupted, nodding at a massive dragon with lowered wings. He tried to kill me. I stopped him. With one word. Helena turned to Va Therix. Why her? Why now? The elder's eyes dimmed, ancient sorrow radiating from his voice. Because humanity forgot us, and we chose to forget you. He paused. Eons ago, before the breaking, we fought as one, dragons of flame and humans of light. Together we survived a darkness neither could face alone. But we fractured. Memory became myth. Bloodlines scattered. He looked at Lia, and now that echo has returned. In her, Helena's voice was barely a whisper. You're saying she's the key to reuniting our species? No, Va Therix said. I am saying she is the proof we never were truly apart. Silence followed. Then Lia squeezed her mother's hand. I want to go home, but I also want to come back. Helena's brow furrowed. Come back. To help them remember. To help us remember. There's more to who we are than anyone ever told us. Helena stared at her daughter. So small, so young, so impossibly ancient. You're not afraid? She asked softly. Lia shook her head. I'm not alone. The Korrhith, once monsters in Helena's mind, bowed their heads in silent recognition. Va Therix turned toward the star-streaked void. Earth will have questions. They will come with fear. They will come with fire. Helena lowered her weapon. Then let them come. We've already forgotten too much. Maybe it's time we remembered who we used to be. In the months that followed, Earth changed. The Korrhith made no demands. They made an offer. Knowledge. Memory. Shared flame. A chance to rebuild what had been broken. Lia Quinn became the first human ambassador to a species that had once ruled stars. She wore no crown, no uniform. Just a necklace carved from world-ship bone and a child's determination. And wherever she went, people whispered her name with reverence and disbelief. The girl who spoke flame.